Jake Morrison stared at the screens in front of him, his coffee growing cold in his hand. The orbital defense platform Terra Shield hummed quietly around him as it always did. But today felt different. Today, 3 massive shapes had appeared, near Jupiter, and they were not human ships. "Commander, we're getting more readings," said Lieutenant Kelly Brooks from her station. "The ships are huge, each one is at least 5 miles long." Jake set down his coffee and walked over to the main display. The alien vessels looked like giant crystals floating in space, all sharp edges and glowing lights. They moved in perfect formation, heading straight toward Earth. "Have they tried to talk to us yet?" Jake asked. "Not yet, sir, but Admiral Grant wants to speak with you right away." Jake nodded and opened the communication channel. Admiral Lisa Grant's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "Jake, I need you to keep your people ready," she said. "We don't know what these aliens want, but we're not taking any chances." "Yes, Admiral. What's the plan?" "We're sending Captain Ben Clark out to meet them. Small diplomatic shuttle, peaceful approach. But if things go wrong, I want Terra Shield, ready to protect Earth." Jake understood. Terra Shield was humanity's newest orbital defense platform, built after too many movies about alien invasions. It carried weapons that most people thought were too powerful to ever use. Today, Jake hoped they were wrong about that. Down on Earth, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was working late in her lab. She studied life forms from other planets, though until today, all of those life forms had been tiny microbes found on asteroids. Now she was looking at signals from real alien ships, and what she saw worried her. "The language patterns are strange," she told her assistant, Mark Davis. "They keep using words like integration and compliance. And look at this phrase here, resource optimization." Mark leaned over her shoulder to look at the screen. "That doesn't sound very friendly." "No, it doesn't. It sounds like they've done this before. Like they have a system for dealing with planets like Earth." Amy pulled up more of the alien broadcast. The message was being sent on multiple frequencies, translated into dozens of Earth languages. But it was the untranslated parts that caught her attention. "Mark, run this through the computer. I want to know if there are any other patterns hidden in here." While the computer worked, Amy thought about the aliens' message. They said they came in peace. They said they wanted to help humanity join something called the Zephyrian Collective. They said it would be good for everyone. But Amy had spent her whole career studying life, and she knew that when one species showed up to help another, it usually meant trouble for the smaller species. Captain Ben Clark was getting ready for the most important mission of his life. His small shuttle, the Peacemaker, was loaded with gifts for the aliens and messages of friendship from Earth's leaders. Ben was a good pilot and a better diplomat, but he had never met real aliens before. "Remember, Ben," Admiral Grant told him, over the radio. "We want to be friendly, but we also want information. Find out what they really want." "I understand, Admiral. I'll be careful." Ben's shuttle left Earth's atmosphere and headed toward the alien ships. As he got closer, he could see how truly massive they were. His shuttle could fit inside one of their smaller sections hundreds of times over. One of the alien ships opened a bay door, and Ben flew inside. The walls were made of the same crystal material as the outside, and they glowed with soft blue light. Strange symbols moved across the walls like living things. A tall figure was waiting for him when he stepped out of his shuttle. It looked like a person made of crystal and metal, standing nearly 8 feet tall. Its voice came from speakers somewhere. In the walls, "I am Ambassador Vextar of the Zephyrian Collective. You are the representative of the human species. Yes, I'm Captain Ben Clark. I bring greetings from Earth and hope for peaceful contact between our peoples." Ambassador Vextar made a sound that might have been laughter. "Peace, yes. That is what we offer to all species we encounter. We bring them into the collective and they find peace under our guidance." Ben didn't like the way the alien said guidance. It sounded too much like control. "Tell me about this collective," Ben said. "We are a union of 47 species spread across this galaxy. Each species contributes what they do best. Some provide raw materials, others provide labor. A few provide creative thinking. All find their place in our system. And what would humanity's place be? Ambassador Vextar studied Ben with eyes that glowed like small stars. Humans show promise. You have interesting ideas about warfare and survival. You could be useful to us. Ben felt a chill run down his spine. The alien wasn't talking about partnership, it was talking about using humanity like a tool. What if we prefer to remain independent? Ben asked. Independence is an illusion, Ambassador Vextar replied. Species that choose independence often face unfortunate accidents. Space is dangerous. Ships malfunction. Planets sometimes suffer natural disasters. It is much safer to accept our protection. The threat was clear even if the alien wrapped it in polite words. Ben nodded as if he understood, but inside his mind was racing. He needed to get this information back to Earth. We will need time to consider your generous offer, Ben said. Of course. We give all species time to make the correct choice. You have 72 Earth hours to decide. Then we will need your answer. Ben returned to his shuttle with a head full of information and a heart full of worry. As he flew back toward Earth, he could see more alien ships appearing in the distance. The Zephyrians weren't just making an offer. They were making preparations. Back on Terra Shield, Jake Morrison watched Captain Clark's shuttle return to Earth. The alien ships had moved closer while Ben was visiting them, and their weapons were now clearly visible. Jake had seen enough war movies to recognize a threat when he saw one. Kelly, send a message to Admiral Grant, Jake said. Tell her the aliens aren't here to make friends. They're here to make us an offer we can't refuse. Yes, sir. Should I activate the defense protocols? Jake looked at the alien ships again. They were beautiful and terrible, like crystalline angels, of death floating in the darkness of space. Humanity had always wondered what would happen when aliens finally arrived. Now they were about to find out. Not yet, Jake said. But make sure everyone is ready. I have a feeling we're going to need every weapon we've got. The emergency meeting in the Pentagon lasted 6 hours. World leaders argued over video calls while military advisors shuffled papers and looked worried. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight. Most just wanted more time to think. Colonel Sam Turner sat in the back of the room, listening to the debates with growing frustration. While politicians talked about diplomatic solutions, Sam knew the truth. The aliens had given humanity 3 days to surrender, and they meant it. Sam had been waiting for this day for 20 years. Not aliens specifically, but something like them. Something that would threaten all of humanity at once. That was why he had helped create the Omega Protocol, a plan so secret that only 12 people on Earth knew it existed. When the meeting finally ended with no real decisions made, Sam walked quietly to his office and opened a locked drawer. Inside was a single red phone with no numbers on it. He picked it up and waited. Omega Protocol activated, he said when someone answered. This is not a drill. Across the country, 11 other people received similar calls. Dr. Kate Williams was working, late in her physics lab when her phone rang. She had been expecting this call for years, though she hoped it would never come. Kate, it's time, Sam's voice said through the encrypted line. We need Project Thunderstorm ready in 48 hours. Kate looked at the locked door across her lab. Behind it were weapons that the government had ordered her to build, then ordered her to hide. Weapons that were too dangerous for normal warfare, but perfect for fighting an enemy from space. I understand, Kate said. I'll begin immediately. Dr. Kate Williams had always been told she was too creative for her own good. While other physicists built normal weapons, Kate had built impossible ones. Her theories came from reading too many science fiction books and watching too many disaster movies. The military had funded her work because they were curious, then classified it because they were scared. Project Thunderstorm was her masterpiece. It used principles that most scientists said were impossible, but Kate had made them work anyway. The weapon could turn the Earth's magnetic field into a giant shield, or focus it into a beam that could cut through anything. It had never been tested at full power because the test might have destroyed half the planet. In Colorado, Lieutenant Ryan Murphy was leading his team through a mountain tunnel that officially did not exist. The tunnel led to a facility that was not on any map, built to house equipment that was not in any military manual. Sir, all systems are showing green, said Sergeant Lisa Park, checking her tablet. "The mountain is ready." Ryan nodded. Cheyenne Mountain was famous for housing NORAD, but most people did not know about the other facility built inside the same mountain. This one was designed to survive anything, including attacks from space. It could run for 50 years without any outside help, and it contained enough firepower to fight a war against an entire alien fleet. "Good. Start bringing the defensive systems online, and wake up the sleepers." The sleepers were volunteers who had agreed to be put into suspended animation until Earth faced a global threat. They were the best pilots, soldiers, and scientists humanity had ever produced, kept in perfect condition for the day when they would be needed most. Today was that day. Meanwhile, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was making a discovery that chilled her blood. She had been studying the alien broadcast for hours, and the patterns were becoming clear. "Mark, look at this," she called to her assistant. "I've found records of their other conquests hidden in their transmission." The computer screen showed a list of planets, species, and dates. 47 different worlds had been visited by the Zephyrians over the past 1,000 years. All had been given the same choice. All had eventually joined the collective. "What happened to the ones who refused?" Mark asked. Amy pulled up more data. "That's the scary part. According to this, none of them refused. Every single species chose to join willingly. Maybe the collective really is good for them." Amy shook her head. "Look at the population numbers. Before joining the collective, these species had billions of people. After joining, they have millions. Something happens to most of their population during the integration process." Mark went pale. "You think they're lying about being peaceful?" "I think they tell the truth about bringing peace. Dead people are very peaceful." Amy saved her research and encrypted it. This information needed to reach the right people immediately. The aliens were not offering humanity a choice between freedom and slavery. They were offering a choice between slavery and death. Across the Pacific, Captain Tony Martinez was testing equipment that was not supposed to exist. His fighter jet could do things that violated several laws of physics, thanks to an engine that used principles borrowed from theoretical physics papers that most scientists thought were just interesting math. "Control, this is Eagle 1, Tony said into his radio. "The quantum drive is working perfectly. I can be anywhere in Earth's atmosphere in under 10 minutes. Copy that, Eagle 1. How does it feel to fly something impossible?" Tony smiled as his jet flickered in and out of normal space, moving faster than anything had a right to move. "It feels like cheating, Control. I love it." The quantum fighters were another project that the military had built in secret. They were designed by engineers who refused to accept that faster-than-light travel was impossible. The jets could not travel between stars, but they could move around Earth in ways that would make alien pilots very confused. In underground facilities around the world, other impossible projects were coming online. Major Ellen Foster was checking the status of the civilian evacuation systems. Every major city had secret tunnels leading to underground shelters that could house millions of people for years. The shelters were complete cities with their own power, water, food production, and manufacturing capabilities. "How many people can we hide?" Ellen asked her team. "All of them," replied Sergeant Mike Chen. "We've been planning for this for decades. Every person on Earth has an assigned shelter location. We can have 90% of the population underground in 6 hours." Ellen nodded. The shelters were humanity's insurance policy against global disasters. They had been built after many movies about asteroid impacts, nuclear wars, and alien invasions. Most people thought they were just emergency bunkers. Actually, they were complete backup civilizations. The aliens had made one critical mistake in their planning. They assumed that Earth was like other planets, with most people living on the surface and nowhere to hide. They did not know that humans had spent decades preparing for the worst possible scenarios. Dr. Carlos Jensen was preparing his own surprise for the visitors. As Earth's leading expert in biological warfare, Carlos had been asked to create weapons that could fight alien diseases. Instead, he had created diseases that could fight aliens. "Are you sure this will work on crystalline life forms?" asked his assistant, Dr. Nancy White. "I'm sure," Carlos replied, checking his samples one more time. I've designed these organisms specifically to target the molecular structures we detected in their ships. If they breathe, eat, or touch anything on Earth, they will be infected within hours. Carlos had spent years studying every possible form of alien life that might visit Earth. His weapons were ready for silicon-based life, carbon-based life, energy-based life, and several types that most scientists insisted were impossible. Carlos believed in being prepared for anything. As the second day of the alien ultimatum began, humanity was ready in ways the Zephyrians could never imagine. The politicians were still talking about surrender, but the real defenders of Earth were preparing for war. Colonel Sam Turner looked at his status reports and smiled grimly. Every Omega Protocol facility was ready. Every impossible weapon was charged and waiting. Every backup plan had its own backup plan. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would panic and surrender when faced with superior technology. They had no idea they were dealing with a species that had spent centuries imagining every possible way the universe might try to kill them and preparing for all of it. Let them come, Sam said quietly. We're ready. The 72 hours were almost up. Ambassador Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth through the great crystal windows. The small blue planet looked peaceful and defenseless, just like all the others. Have the humans responded to our offer? He asked his communications officer. They request more time to consider, Ambassador. Their leaders seem unable to reach agreement. Vextar made the sound that passed for laughter among his people. They always ask for more time. Fear makes them hope for miracles that will not come. Begin the demonstration. 3 smaller Zephyrian ships moved toward Earth's moon, their weapons charged with energy that could crack planets. The target was an abandoned space station that humans had built years ago and forgotten about. Destroying it would show Earth what happened to those who refused the collective's generous offer. The weapons fired. Brilliant beams of energy reached across space and struck the old station. It vanished in a flash of light and metal fragments. Send the message, Vextar ordered. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender, or their cities will suffer the same fate. On Earth, the message was received in every government building and military base. Politicians who had been arguing for 3 days suddenly went quiet. The E-hour demonstration had been very effective, but in a secret facility beneath Cheyenne Mountain, Colonel Sam Turner was smiling. They took the bait, he told Lieutenant Ryan Murphy. They destroyed exactly what we wanted them to destroy. Ryan looked confused. Sir, that was one of our space stations. That was one of our oldest space stations, and it was full of sensors. Every piece of debris from that explosion is now transmitting data back to us. We know exactly how their weapons work, what frequency they use, and how much power they need. Sam pulled up readings on his computer screen. Dr. Williams, are you getting this data? Dr. Kate Williams answered from her lab hundreds of miles away. I'm getting it, Sam, and I have very good news. Their weapons are powerful, but they're not very smart. Project Thunderstorm can handle them. How sure are you? 95%, maybe 98%. We're about to find out. Above Earth's atmosphere, the Zephyrian attack fleet was moving into position. 50 ships arranged themselves over major cities around the world. They had done this 47 times before. It always ended the same way. Ambassador, we're detecting some unusual energy readings from the planet, reported the sensor officer. There seemed to be large installations underground. Vextar was not concerned. Primitive bunkers? All species try to hide when we arrive. It makes no difference. Begin the attack. The first wave of Zephyrian ships moved toward New York, London, Tokyo, and a dozen other cities. Their weapons charged, ready to turn millions of humans into examples for the rest of the species. That was when Captain Tony Martinez launched from a hidden base in Nevada. His quantum fighter materialized directly in front of the lead Zephyrian ship, moving at impossible speed. The alien pilots had never seen anything like it. Their sensors could not track something that flickered in and out of normal space. Tony's weapons were not as powerful as the aliens, but they did not need to be. He was not trying to destroy their ships. He was trying to confuse them. This is Eagle 1, Tony radioed back to base. The aliens looked very surprised. I don't think they know how to fight something they can't predict. More quantum fighters launched from hidden bases around the world. Soon the sky was full of human ships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts, firing at alien vessels that could not figure out how to fight back. The Zephyrians tried to target the cities instead, but their weapons met unexpected resistance. When their energy beams struck the atmosphere above major population centers, the beams were absorbed by invisible barriers and redirected harmlessly into space. Dr. Kate Williams watched her instruments with satisfaction. Project Thunderstorm was working perfectly. The Earth's magnetic field had been turned into a giant shield that could absorb and redirect any energy weapon. The aliens were shooting at a planet that could catch their bullets and throw them back. "Sam, we're getting more energy readings," Kate reported. "Every time they fire at us, Thunderstorm gets stronger. We're using their own power against them." Below ground, Major Ellen Foster was coordinating the largest evacuation in human history. Across the world, people were disappearing into hidden tunnels and underground cities faster than the aliens could target them. "Status report," Ellen called to her team. 80% of all major cities are now empty," reported Sergeant Mike Chen. "The surface looks abandoned, but everyone is safe." "Underground," Ellen nodded. The evacuation had been practiced hundreds of times in secret drills disguised as emergency exercises. Most people thought they were just following standard disaster procedures. Actually, they were vanishing into a second civilization that existed, entirely below ground. The Zephyrians found themselves attacking empty buildings while the real targets disappeared into the earth. Their sensors could detect the underground facilities, but their weapons could not reach them through miles of solid rock. Ambassador Vextar was beginning to understand that this planet was different from the others. "How many humans are still on the surface?" he demanded. "Less than 10%, Ambassador, and that number is decreasing rapidly." "What about their military forces?" "We cannot locate them. Our sensors show aircraft that appear and disappear, ground forces that seem to move through solid matter, ships that exist in several places at once." Vextar felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest. Uncertainty. That was when Dr. Carlos Jensen released his biological weapons. The attack was invisible and silent. Modified bacteria and viruses, designed specifically to target crystalline life forms, spread through the ventilation systems of the Zephyrian ships. The aliens had perfect defenses against conventional weapons, but they had never encountered Earth's biological complexity. Within hours, Zephyrian soldiers were collapsing at their posts. Their crystal-like bodies were being attacked by organisms they could not see or understand. Their medical systems had no defense against diseases that had been designed by a species that weaponized evolution itself. "Ambassador, we're losing ships," reported the tactical officer, his voice weak from infection. "Something is killing our crews." "What kind of weapon causes this?" "We don't know. Our medical scanners cannot identify the cause. It appears to be some form of organic warfare, but unlike anything in our databases." Vextar realized that humans did not fight like other species. They did not use only technology or only biology. They used everything at once, in combinations that made no tactical sense but somehow worked perfectly. On Earth, the counterattack was just beginning. Commander Jake Morrison led Terra Shield and other orbital platforms in a coordinated strike against the alien fleet. The humans were not trying to match the aliens' firepower. They were trying to confuse them with tactics that had never been used before. "Fire pattern Delta 7, Jake ordered. His weapons officers looked puzzled. "Sir, that pattern was designed for fighting space monsters, not real ships." "Fire it anyway." The pattern had been created by military strategists who spent too much time watching science fiction movies. It made no sense according to normal military doctrine, but it worked perfectly against enemies who expected logical tactics. The Zephyrian fleet found itself under attack from directions that should have been impossible. Human weapons fired in sequences that seemed random but created overlapping fields of destruction. Ships that tried to retreat found their escape routes blocked by mines that had been placed in locations no sane military would think to guard. Dr. Amy Rodriguez watched the battle from her lab, analyzing every piece of data that came in. The aliens were powerful and advanced, but they followed predictable patterns. They had conquered so many worlds using the same methods that they could not adapt when those methods stopped working. "Mark, look at this," she told her assistant. "Their formation is breaking down. They're starting to panic." "How can you tell?" "Their ship movements are becoming erratic. They're trying tactics from their database, but nothing is working. They've never fought a species that prepared for their specific type of attack." Above Earth, Ambassador Vextar made a decision that no Zephyrian commander had made in 1,000 years of conquest. He ordered a retreat. "All ships, withdraw to safe distance. We need to reassess this situation." As the alien fleet pulled back from Earth, humans around the world emerged from their underground shelters to see something unprecedented. The Zephyrian collective, conquerors of 47 worlds, were running away. Colonel Sam Turner allowed himself a small smile. The Omega Protocol had worked exactly as planned. Earth had not just survived first contact with hostile aliens. They had won the first battle of what would certainly be a longer war. "Phase 1 complete," Sam announced to his team. "Now comes the hard part." Ambassador Vexistar floated in his command chamber, staring at reports that made no sense. Half his fleet was dead or dying from an invisible plague. His remaining ships were scattered across the outer solar system, afraid to get close to the small blue planet that had somehow defeated them. "Send an emergency message to the homeworld," Vextar ordered his communications officer. "Tell them we need the full battle fleet. This species is not like the others." The message would take weeks to reach Zephyrian space and weeks more for reinforcements to arrive. Vexitar had never needed reinforcements before. In 1,000 years of conquest, the collective had never faced serious resistance from any species. But Earth was different. Humans fought with weapons that should not exist, and tactics that made no logical sense. They had turned their entire planet into a fortress and their whole species into an army. On Earth, the celebration was brief. Colonel Sam Turner knew the aliens would return with more ships and better preparation. Humanity had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. "How long do we have?" Admiral Grant asked during an emergency meeting. 6 to 8 weeks at most," replied Dr. Amy Rodriguez. "I've been studying their communication patterns. They're calling for help, and help is coming." Sam nodded. "Then we use that time to get ready for round 2. Kate, can Project Thunderstorm handle a larger attack?" Dr. Kate Williams looked tired but determined. "With modifications, yes, but I need more power sources. A lot more." "What kind of power sources?" "The kind that don't exist yet. I need to build generators that can tap directly into Earth's core." "It's theoretically possible, but we've never tried it." Sam did not hesitate. "Do it. Whatever you need, you get it." Across the world, humanity was preparing for the return of the aliens. But they were not just building more weapons. They were building better weapons, using technology they had learned from studying captured Zephyrian equipment. Engineer Nick Peterson led a team of scientists in reverse engineering alien technology. The work was dangerous, because Zephyrian devices were designed to self-destruct if tampered with. But Nick had grown up taking apart things that were not supposed to be taken apart. "The aliens build their technology like puzzles," Nick explained to his team. "Everything fits together, perfectly, but only one way. Humans build things differently. We make everything work together in multiple ways." Nick's team had already improved several alien devices by adding human modifications. A Zephyrian communication system became 10 times more powerful when they added human signal boosters. An alien energy weapon became twice as efficient when they replaced its crystal focusing array with human-designed lenses. "We're not just copying their technology," Nick told Colonel Turner. "We're making it better. The aliens are so focused on perfection that they forgot about innovation." Meanwhile, Dr. Carlos Jensen was preparing his next biological surprise. The first wave of diseases had been effective, but the aliens would develop defenses. Carlos needed something new. "What we need is not just a weapon," Carlos told his assistant, Dr. Nancy White. "We need an entire ecosystem designed to attack crystalline life forms." Carlos had been studying samples of alien material recovered from destroyed ships. The Zephyrians were not just individuals. They were part of a collective consciousness that shared information instantly. That connection was their strength, but Carlos had realized it was also their weakness. If we can create an organism that attacks their shared consciousness, we can turn their greatest advantage against them, Carlos explained. Imagine a virus that spreads through their mental network instead of their bodies. Nancy looked worried. Is that even possible? I don't know, but I'm going to find out. Above Earth, Commander Jake Morrison was overseeing the construction of new orbital defenses. The success of Terra Shield had proven that space-based weapons could work against alien fleets. Now humanity was building dozens of similar platforms. How many can we complete before they return? Jake asked his construction chief, Lieutenant Lisa Park. 15 platforms, maybe 20 if we work around the clock. But Jake, we're running out of materials. These things require rare metals that we don't have much of. Jake smiled. Actually, we do have them. We just need to go get them. Jake was referring to the asteroid belt, where robots had been mining rare metals for decades. Most people thought the mining operation was for civilian use. Actually, it had been preparing for exactly this situation. Captain Tony Martinez was leading mining expeditions to bring back materials for the orbital platforms. His quantum fighters could reach the asteroid belt in days instead of months, carrying loads that would have taken conventional ships years to transport. It's like having a highway to anywhere in the solar system, Tony reported back to Earth. The aliens think in terms of big, slow ships. We're thinking in terms of fast, small ones. The mining operations were bringing back not just metals, but also alien wreckage from the first battle. Every piece of destroyed Zephyrian ship was studied, analyzed, and turned into better human weapons. Down in the underground cities, Major Ellen Foster was preparing for a siege that might last years. The shelters had been designed to be self-sufficient, but now they needed to be more than that. They needed to be manufacturing centers that could produce everything humanity needed to fight a war. We're not just hiding underground, Ellen told her staff. We're building a second civilization down here. If the surface gets destroyed, we keep fighting from below. Each underground city was becoming a complete industrial complex. They had factories for building weapons, laboratories for developing new technology, farms for growing food, and schools for training the next generation of defenders. Dr. Patricia Lee was working on humanity's most ambitious project yet. Hidden beneath the Antarctic ice was a construction site that would have seemed impossible to earlier generations. Humans were building a planetary defense system that would make Earth itself into a weapon. The idea came from science fiction, Patricia explained to her team. What if we could turn the whole planet into a giant gun? The system used massive crystalline formations buried deep in the Earth's crust. These crystals could absorb energy from any source and focus it into beams that could reach anywhere in the solar system. It was like having a cannon the size of a planet. The aliens use crystal technology too, Patricia noted, but they think small. They put crystals in their ships. We're putting them in our planet. As the weeks passed, humanity transformed Earth into something the Zephyrians had never encountered, not just a defended world but an actively hostile one. Every mountain might hide a weapon, every ocean might conceal a launcher, every city might be a trap. Dr. Amy Rodriguez continued studying alien communications, learning more about the Zephyrian collective with each intercepted message. What she discovered worried her. They're not just sending more ships, she told Admiral Grant. They're sending their best ships, ships they've never needed to use before. How bad is it? The reinforcement fleet is 10 times larger than the first one, and it's commanded by someone called the Supreme Harvester. According to their communications, he has never failed to conquer a world. Admiral Grant nodded grimly. Then he's about to experience something new. The Supreme Harvester's fleet was already entering the solar system. Long-range sensors detected hundreds of ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything in the first attack. They moved in perfect formation, like a crystal army marching through space. But humanity was ready in ways the aliens could not imagine. Colonel Sam Turner stood in his command center watching the enemy approach. Around him, screens showed the status of defenses that spanned the entire planet and reached deep into space. All stations report ready, Lieutenant Ryan Murphy announced. Underground, Cities are sealed and operational, Major Ellen Foster added. Biological weapons are loaded and waiting, Dr. Carlos Jensen confirmed. Planetary defense grid is charged to full power, Dr. Patricia Lee reported. Sam Turner looked at the approaching alien fleet and felt something he had not expected to feel. Confidence. Let them come, he said quietly. We've had weeks to prepare, and we've used every minute well. The Supreme Harvester is about to learn why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The second battle for Earth was about to begin, but this time, humanity was not just defending. This time, they were ready to take the fight to the enemy. In the depths of space, the Supreme Harvester studied reports about the species that had somehow defeated a Zephyrian fleet. He had read about their primitive weapons and crude tactics. He was not impressed. Prepare for total planetary sterilization, the Supreme Harvester ordered his fleet. This species has caused enough trouble. We will not make the same mistakes as our predecessors. But as his fleet approached Earth, the Supreme Harvester began to detect energy readings that did not match his intelligence reports. The planet below was not the same world that had been attacked weeks earlier. It had become something new, something dangerous, something that was waiting for him. The Supreme Harvester arrived at Earth with 500 ships and absolute confidence. He had conquered more worlds than any other Zephyrian commander. His fleet could crack planets and burn stars. No primitive species had ever resisted him for more than a few hours. Begin the sterilization protocol, the Supreme Harvester commanded from his massive flagship. I want this planet reduced to molten rock within the day. His weapons were designed to destroy worlds. Energy beams that could melt continents, gravity bombs that could shatter moons, viral weapons that could kill every living thing on a planet in minutes. But when the Supreme Harvester fired his first weapon at Earth, something impossible happened. The planet fired back. Dr. Patricia Lee watched her instruments with amazement. As the planetary defense grid activated for the first time, crystals buried deep in the Earth's crust absorbed the alien attack and focused it into a beam of pure energy that shot back into space. Direct hit on their flagship, she reported to Colonel Sam Turner. Their own weapon just punched a hole through their strongest ship. The Supreme Harvester stared at his damage reports in disbelief. His most powerful weapon had been turned against him by a planet that should not have been able to fight back. How is this possible? He demanded. The planet appears to be using our own technology against us, his tactical officer replied. But modified in ways we do not understand. The Supreme Harvester had never encountered a species that could improve Zephyrian technology. The collective science was perfect. It could not be made better. But humans did not believe in perfection. They believed in making things work better than they were supposed to. Captain Tony Martinez led the first wave of quantum fighters against the alien fleet. This time, there were not just dozens of human ships, but thousands. Every pilot who had ever dreamed of flying in space had been given a quantum fighter and 6 weeks of intensive training. Remember, Tony radioed to his squadron, we're not trying to destroy them all. We're trying to make them panic. The human fighters appeared and disappeared around the alien ships like angry wasps. The Zephyrians could not track them, could not predict them, and could not hit them. Every time they fired at a human ship, 3 more appeared behind them. Commander Jake Morrison coordinated the orbital platform attack from Terra Shield. The 20 new platforms formed a defensive ring around Earth, their weapons linked together, in patterns that no military academy had ever taught. Fire Sequence Omega, Jake ordered. Let's see how they handle this. The platforms fired in a pattern inspired by a video game that Jake's nephew had been playing. It made no tactical sense, but it created overlapping fields of energy that trapped alien ships like flies in a web. The Supreme Harvester watched his fleet being destroyed by tactics that violated every principle of military strategy. The humans fought like they were playing a game instead of fighting a war. Sir, we're losing ships faster than we can count, reported his tactical officer. Their weapons are not more powerful than ours, but they use them in ways that make no sense. Then we use the planet killer, the Supreme Harvester decided. Charge the core breaker. We will crack this world in half. The core breaker was the collective's ultimate weapon. It could reach through a planet's crust and detonate its core, destroying the world from inside. No species had ever survived its use. But Dr. Kate Williams had been preparing for exactly this attack. Project Thunderstorm had been upgraded to handle planetary-scale weapons. When the core breaker fired, Earth's magnetic field caught the weapon and absorbed its energy. "Kate, what's happening?" Colonel Sam Turner asked as energy readings went off the scale. "We just absorbed enough power to run human civilization for 1,000 years, Kate replied. "And now we're going to give it back to them." The energy released by the core breaker was focused through the planetary defense grid and fired back at the alien fleet as a beam of pure destruction. The blast was so powerful that it destroyed 50 alien ships instantly and sent the rest tumbling through space. But the Supreme Harvester was not finished. He activated his final weapon, a biological agent designed to kill every living thing on Earth. The virus had destroyed hundreds of worlds. It adapted to any environment and could not be stopped. Dr. Carlos Jensen had been waiting for this moment. As the alien virus spread through Earth's atmosphere, it encountered something the Zephyrians had never seen before, a planet that fought back with its own biology. Carlos had modified Earth's entire ecosystem. Every plant, every animal, every bacteria had been given the ability to recognize and destroy Zephyrian biological weapons. The alien virus did not just fail to kill Earth's life forms, it was eaten by them. "Status report," Sam Turner requested. "The alien virus has been completely neutralized," Carlos reported. "In fact, our modified organisms are now using it as food. Earth's biosphere is actually getting stronger." The Supreme Harvester realized he was not fighting a species. He was fighting an entire planet that had been turned into a weapon. Every attack he made was absorbed, improved, and sent back at him. "Retreat," he ordered his remaining ships. Full retreat to safe distance. But engineer Nick Peterson had anticipated this move. Human ships appeared around the fleeing aliens, using technology that had been reverse-engineered and improved from captured Zephyrian equipment. "This is Lieutenant Commander Joe Adams," came a voice over the radio. "Alien fleet, you are surrounded by the Earth Defense Force. Surrender now or be destroyed." The Supreme Harvester looked at his tactical display. He was surrounded by ships that used his own technology better than he did. His fleet was crippled. His weapons were useless. For the first time in his 1,000 years of conquest, he was completely defeated. "We surrender," the Supreme Harvester broadcast on all frequencies. Dr. Amy Rodriguez was waiting when the alien commander was brought to Earth as a prisoner. She had spent months studying Zephyrian psychology, and she had questions that needed answers. "How many species have you conquered?" she asked Ambassador Vextar, who had also been captured. 47 worlds fell to the collective, Vextar replied. "All chose to join us willingly after we demonstrated our power." "And what happened to the populations of those worlds?" Vextar hesitated. "They were integrated into the collective. Some became workers, others became resources. All served the greater good." Amy nodded. She had suspected the truth. "You didn't conquer those species, you enslaved them, and when they were no longer useful, you disposed of them." "It is the natural order," Vextar insisted. "The strong rule the weak." "Not anymore," Amy replied. "Earth is broadcasting your confession to every world in the galaxy. Every species you've conquered now knows the truth about the collective, and they know that you can be defeated." Across space, the message was received by 47 enslaved worlds. For the first time in centuries, they had hope. The Zephyrian collective was not invincible. Humans had proven that. Colonel Sam Turner stood in his command center, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. Rebellions were starting on collective worlds. Species that had been slaves for generations were remembering how to fight. "Sir, we're receiving messages from dozens of alien species," Lieutenant Ryan Murphy reported. "They're asking for our help in fighting the collective." Sam smiled. "Tell them we'll be happy to help, and send them our complete defense plans. It's time the galaxy learned how to fight back." Colony Administrator Greg Phillips was already preparing humanity's next move. Secret shipyards were building vessels designed to carry Earth's defensive technology to other worlds. Humanity would not just defend Earth, They would teach the galaxy how to defend itself. "We're not going to be conquerors," Greg told his staff. "We're going to be teachers. We're going to show every species in the galaxy that they don't have to be victims." The Zephyrian Collective had ruled through fear for 1,000 years. But fear was a weapon that only worked against species that had never faced their worst nightmares and survived. Humans had spent centuries imagining every possible disaster and preparing for all of them. They had turned their paranoia into their greatest strength. And now they were sharing that strength with the galaxy. Dr. Amy Rodriguez sent one final message to the Collective's home world. It was broadcast on every frequency, translated into every known language, and sent to every corner of the galaxy. "Dear aliens," the message began. "Welcome to Earth. We tried to warn you not to perish too fast, but you didn't listen. Your collective is broken. Your fleets are destroyed. Your empire is falling apart. But we're not done yet. We're coming to free every world you've enslaved. We're coming to teach them how to fight back. And we're bringing weapons that make your nightmares look like bedtime stories. Humanity has awakened, and we're very angry. Consider this your final warning. Run." The message ended with coordinates to Earth and an invitation. Any species that wanted to learn how to fight the Collective was welcome to visit. Humanity would teach them everything they needed to know. The age of the Zephyrian Collective was over. The age of galactic freedom had begun, and it had started with a species that refused to give up, refused to surrender, and refused to believe that anyone was too powerful to defeat. Humanity had spent centuries preparing for the worst. Now they were ready to make sure it never happened to anyone else.